and an overview of how Protected Planet can support Target 3 indicators and where to find additional resources. So the speakers today, we have Jillian Campbell, CBD, as well as Blaise Fonseca joining us from the CBD Secretariat. From UNEP-WCMC, we're joined by Heather Vingham and Ayesha Wijasekera. Thank you all for being here and for your support. So with that, let us get started. Jillian, I will turn to you first for an overview of the 7th National Report. After Jillian's remarks, we will stay with the CBD Secretary for a walkthrough of the online reporting tool. Jillian, the floor is yours.
Do you want me to show my slides, or are you going to show them?
Yes, please show them.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just having a little issue. I apologize. I'll start talking while I'm trying to share the slides. So something is weird with there. Okay, sorry. Good morning, everyone. I apologize for that minor issue. I am going to walk you through the reporting process under the CBD. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with the national reporting process, so I apologize if a little bit of this is some things that you have already known. Okay, I think it's going to work now. Okay, hopefully this is working. Okay. So when the convention was established, it was established through the Earth Summit, and there's the Rio Conventions that were established back in 1992. And as it was established, there's different articles of the convention. Article 26 of the convention relates to national reporting, and national reporting is established as a legal obligation under the convention. So since that time, there have been 6 rounds of national reports, and we're coming up on the 7th round of national reporting. So it's something that happens about every 4 years, and countries report on their progress towards implementation of the convention through this national reporting process. And this is something that, of course, will continue with the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. And the national reports are due in February. The next national report is due in February of 2026. There are a number of recent decisions that outline how the national reports will look. There have been changes over the past 3 decades of national reporting, and so the current 7th national report has some key differences from some of the previous national reports. But that is the current national report that will be requested of parties in the next year. This national reporting is primarily detailed in Decision 1632 of the COP, which provides the template for national reporting. So just in terms of a few of the key issues is that there was a decision when the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was adopted. This is Decision 15.6 that established the dates for the 7th National Report and the 8th National Report. As I mentioned, this is due in February of 2026. And then one of the key differences between the guidance on the 7th National Report and all previous reports is that the reports will include a set of indicators, which we have called the headline and binary indicators. So for the purpose of Target 3, the indicator is related to protected area extent. However, I would say there's a number of other indicators that are also important for Target 3. The indicator on restoration, the indicator on ecosystem extent. These are also indicators that would be very important as you're trying to establish your protected area extent and delineate your protected areas. Additionally, there's a lot of guidance in Decision 1631 on the specific methodology for these indicators. And in the context, again, of the indicator on protected areas, it goes into detail on potential disaggregations that would be useful to include in the national report. Some of those disaggregations are by management effectiveness, governance type, the extent of different types of ecosystems that are covered by protected areas. Those are all different disaggregations that are there. And it's recommending to go a step further than what's in the SDGs. So in the SDGs, you have marine protected areas, terrestrial protected areas, and freshwater is also provided, and I believe mountains. In the context of the GBF, it's recommending a disaggregation by the global ecosystem typology functional groups of IUCN. So this would be, subtropical rainforest is an example of one of the ecosystem groups. So what percentage of subtropical rainforests are protected within your country? So that is part of what this is one of the big changes from the previous national reports. And then Decision 1632, as I mentioned, is where the template for the national reports is provided, and it also links with the global review. So how this information will be used and aggregated up globally to provide a global picture of where we stand in terms of implementing the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. So one other comment that I have before I go into detail on the template is that the template is based on the national targets. So the idea is that a country would develop their NBSAP, and in the context of developing the NBSAP, they would set a national target for Target 3, for example. So an example of a national target that I've seen, some are very ambitious. So one is to protect 50% of the terrestrial area. This is Burkina Faso's target, actually. So so that's their target. So in the national report, then they will report on progress towards that target. So at this point in time, I don't believe that they have protected the extent that they have said they would protect in the target, but then through the 7th and 8th national report, they can say what progress they've made towards achieving that target. So that's how the structure works. So then they're really reporting progress towards their own national target more than their reporting target. They're not requested to directly report on the global target because they first say what they're going to do in relation to that global target, and then they report on that. So that's the structure of how it works. So just an overview of all the timelines is that the national targets were requested to be submitted by COP16 along with the NBSAPs. At the moment, about 140 countries have submitted national targets. So there's 50-ish countries that are still outstanding. And almost all of those have set a target for Target 3. And so that there's still a few countries that are in the process of submitting targets, and working on the full NBSAP is something that many countries are doing, but that's where we stand with the national targets. As I mentioned, the national reports are then due in February of 2026. This will feed into the global review of progress, which will happen at COP17, which is going to be in October of 2026. And then from there, the next national report and the final review of the framework will be in 2028, 2029. The reports are an assessment of national progress towards the implementation of the framework. This is their primary use. They're also a primary source for the global report. So right now, this is the midterm review of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. So COP17 will be this moment in time where we have the midterm review of the framework, and COP19 will be the final review of the framework and as I said, the national reports are really what this is based on. So it's really important that there's good information there so that we're able to see how the framework is being implemented and if we are on track or off track to achieve the ambition of the framework. So this is what the national report structure looks like. I'm sure that Blaise will go into a lot more detail on this because he's going to walk you through the system. So I'm not going to go into detail on this really, but the overall idea is that there was a PDF version in the decision. However, because in the decision itself, each country is reporting on their own national target. The template is dynamic, so the template will actually change depending on what targets you've set. And so this is why there's a system that's been created to facilitate this so that it's possible to submit this. It's called the online reporting tool. And this is the step. So first you would go in there, submit national targets, and then report against those targets all in the same system called the online reporting tool. There's a mix of free text type of questions. There's also binary questions. For instance, we set binary indicators related to some of the targets. Target 1 on spatial planning is an example of this, where there's a set of questions specifically related to spatial planning that countries would answer. And then there's the indicator data along with the disaggregations. So this would be like the extent of protected areas, which I believe Heather will talk about. And then in this report, you can also include websites and publications. So a difference from the past, as I mentioned, is one, this reporting on your own national targets, and two, there's a big focus on having structured data. So data on protected areas, disaggregated data on protected areas. The questions are also structured so that every country is reporting on the same thing. And then there's still this opportunity for a narrative that describes what actions are being taken and what policies have been put in place. So there's 5 sections of this report. Section 1 is, I'll go through these really quick, but section 1 is just a brief overview of how the process was established, which national authorities are responsible. Section 2 is on the status of the NBSAPs. So do you have an NBSAP and how was it developed? I would say that this section 2 is also requested when you submit the NBSAP. So there's a little duplication there that I think we're looking into. Section 3 is then the main part of this report, which is where each country describes the action that they've taken to implement a target. And as I mentioned, it's reporting on national targets, not on the global ones, and then indicate the level of progress, provide a summary of the outcomes achieved, and then providing this data that's required as part of the national reporting template. So for the data, you can either use national data, or if there's global data available, for instance, there is through the WDPA, you could automatically use that in your national report by clicking the second button. Or if you don't have data, then you could say that you don't have data and describe why. For example, if you were trying to report on marine protected areas and don't have, and you're landlocked, maybe you would say not applicable. I don't think, I mean, you probably wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have set that as an indicator, but if you did, you could then report it that way. And then there's this subjective assessment of whether or not you think you're on track or not, or whether a party thinks they're on track or not to achieve the target. So section 4 is towards the global goals. So in this, there's a description of how, for instance, biodiversity is sustainably used. And so this assessment is on the global goals. So how are the actions that you're taking at the national level creating progress towards the global goals? In the case of protected areas, obviously you would expect to see a benefit for goal A, for example, and goal B in terms of ecosystems being maintained and also sustainable use contributions being maintained. And then there's a final section on conclusions. And that is the whole structure of the national report. Then there's quite a bit of guidance in the decisions on how do you prepare the report, and involving a lot of stakeholders in the process and making sure that the process is inclusive and involves IPLCs, women and youth, and other stakeholders. And all of that is available on the national reporting website. And also, as I said, there's guidance in the decision itself. So I think I'll leave it at that, and then I can hand back over, and my colleague will be walking you through exactly how the online reporting tool works. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jillian. That was extremely a helpful overview. And now I'd like to pass this on to Blaise Fonseca from the CBD to take us through the online reporting tool in more detail. Just to flag, for folks needing interpretation, you can access that link I just shared, events.boostlingo.com, where you can find both Spanish and French interpretation and captions and audio. So Blaise, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I understand we have a mixed audience today. Some of you are national focal point to the CBD, and some of you are represent the ministries who might contribute to the 7 national reports. So I'll begin with how to access the online reporting tool. Who can access the online reporting tool, and then I'll also share how we can the countries can have additional users who can contribute to the country's national report. The online reporting tool is available on ORT. To have you need to be an authorized user representing a government in order to access the ORT. The ORT is split into 2 sections. One is the public section, which anybody can access. And you do not need a login to access those sections. So that's all published information like the national targets and NBSAPs. But if you want to draft or submit information for your government, then you need to access the private section. The ORT has a unique space created for each government, and only authorized users from that government can access that information. And that information can only be made public by the national focal point to the CBD. So in order to know that if you have access to the ORT or not, once you log in, on the homepage of this ORT, we have a brief profile of the logged in user. Please make sure it's Haiti, and also make sure that you have a role. It should be either a national focal point or a publishing authority or a national authorized user. The difference between these 3 roles is a national focal point is the highest user and can publish information, while a national authorized user is an additional user from the government who can draft information. And once he's done drafting the information, the national focal point can review that information, and if everything is okay, he can make that information public. So here, in case if you are from another ministry or another division or department who wants to contribute to your country's national focal point, what the national focal point from the country can do is click on this national users menu. This will take you to the central CHM mechanism of the CBD, where the NFP can nominate additional users. They will be granted a national authorized user role. And once that has been granted to them, they will be able to draft information for their country's national report. They will only have access to draft that information, and only the national focal point, once he reviews the information, will be able to publish that information. We will not go in the, I will not be demoing the national users, how to add additional users. It's just a very simple function that NFPs can do by themselves. So once you have logged into the the ORT, you can click on the 7 national report menu on the left-hand side. And then we have 2 submenus, all reports. So this is where once your country submits a national report, everybody around the world will be able to access that report. The second menu is the My Country menu. This is the private menu that I was talking about. Only authorized users have access to this menu. And here you will be able to draft the national report for your country. So like the template that was adopted at COP, we have 5 sections. If you are a national focal point, I recommend that you start with section 1, because here's one important decision that you should make before you start entering information for your 7 national report. So once you go to the submission tab, on the submission tab, there's one question that you will have to answer. Please select in which language you wish to submit this record. So if your country, it is mandatory to submit information. If your country, by default, it will have English selected, but if your country has intent to submit the national report in any other even language, you should make the selection before you start entering in all the information. It's very important, because if you enter information in this wrong language and later you decide to switch the language, it's possible that you will lose information. So it's very important that you make that decision before entering all of the information. The ORT also allows you to submit information in your national language. So in case if your country's national language is not one of the even language, and you also want to enter information in your national language, we also have an option to allow you to select your national language, but it's still mandatory to provide information in one of the UN language. The submission form is quite simple. We have an introduction page that gives you an intro about the what this section is about. Then we have the submission form itself, where you'll be able to enter information. And then we have the review page. This will give you this will show you how your information will look like once you publish this information. This will also provide you with any mandatory errors, mandatory information that is missing. So once you click on review, the system will validate if you have provided all the data. And if you haven't provided, the system will highlight that you have missed some mandatory information in this section. The system also allows you to generate PDFs of this section, or if you want to print that information, you also have that option. Another thing is once you get the errors, because some of the sections will be long, what the system does is like if you click on the error itself, the system will just scroll you to the form and the field which is missing and highlight it in red, so that you don't have to scroll or find which field is missing in a pretty long form. One of the key features that we have developed with the online reporting tool is rich text editors. Because the ORT, the national report is largely a narrative-based reporting, you will be providing a lot of text, and you would like bolding or making some text italic, or if you want to add some tables, or if you want to have some bulleted list, for example, or if you want to add some imagery to complement the text. All these things are possible. You can also draft information in a Word file, and then just copy paste the text on the ORT, and then the system will try to retain all the formatting that you have in the Word file as is when you copy it over to the online reporting tool. So here you will see an example. I had copy pasted some text from a Word file. So the system tried to retain my formatting. I had some links, so they are there. I had some bold text that was also written, and there was some formatting that was also done. There was also some footnotes that I had provided in my Word file. So they were also written while I copy pasted the text from a Word file. In case if you want to complement the text with an image, you can also do so. What all you need to do is drag an image from your computer. Just as an example, here you see I have a image. All I need to do is drag the file onto the editor, the field where you intend to upload the file. Once you drag it, the system will upload the image to the CBD server. And once it has been uploaded, it will give you a preview of the image. If you think like the image is too big and you want to reduce the size, you can reduce the size. We have a couple of options by default, but if you want to size it by your need, you can just move the cursor to the end of the image. It will convert it to a resizable cursor, and then you can just resize it according to your needs. You can also align it on the left side, so you have some text on the left and the image on the right, however you wish to present the image the way you want. You can add some text to the image, like some image just below the image, so that if you want to add some additional complementary text for the image. Like that, you also, if you want to upload a complementary text with some attachments, you can also do that. Again, all you need to do is go to your folder and drag the attachment that you wish to upload. For in this example, I'll just drag an Excel file, and then you can just drag it where you wish to add the link to the attachment. So once I drag a file, the attachment was uploaded to the CBD server, and you'll see the system converted uploaded the attachment and then provided a link to the attachment. And then as a name of the link, it used the name of the file. But if you wish to modify the link text, you can just click backspace on your keyboard and change the text as you please. So once you have done, please make sure that you click Save Draft on a regular basis. So in case if there's any issue, you do not lose any information that you have uploaded. So then this section is straightforward. We have a couple of questions. So we'll not go through all of the questions. Similarly, we have section 2. Again, the template is quite straightforward. So we'll not be going in section 2, but we'll go to section 3, which is where you spend most of your time entering information, because the section 3 is very dynamic in nature. And the section 3 will depend on how many national targets your country has submitted. There is a template of 5 questions that are required to be answered. So based on how many national targets you have submitted, you will have to answer those questions that many times. So for example, if your country has submitted 30 national targets, then you will have to answer those questions 30 times and provide some additional data, indicator data for each of the national targets. So before we go into the section 3, because the section 3 is based on how many national targets you have submitted, we recommend that you verify that all your intended national targets have been published. Please make sure that there is no draft national target, because if there's any draft national target, those targets will not be carried in this section 3 of the national report. So please make sure that you go to your national target section and verify that everything is published. And one of the easiest way to do that is if you go to the all national targets section and then click on the analyzer. I will go to the live site so that I can show you the live data. Once you go to the national target section and go to the analyzer, you can select the country, in your case, your country, and then the system will filter the data based on your country's national target. I'm not filtering it because I want to show all the countries. And then you scroll at the bottom of the screen. And here there is a nice table which lists all the countries and how many national targets they have submitted. And then it also shows you how many national targets are aligned with each of the global targets. So here in case of Angola, there are 23 national targets, and we see they have national targets aligned with each of the global target. But in case of Algeria, for example, Algeria does not have a national target for target 11 and target 17 and target 19. Probably this is intended, but if this was not intended, and if you expected a national target to be there, and if you think like you had submitted a national target, please contact us, and then we'll verify if there is any discrepancy, and we'll fix it. Because otherwise, you will not be able to report on that particular national target in section 3. So once after the verification, we go back to section 3. We go back to my dev site. Right. So once you go to the section 3, you will notice one information alert for all the countries. This will be provided. This will highlight how many national targets you are reporting against, and how many national targets your country has published, which are aligned with the global GBF targets. In case if your country has not submitted a national target aligned with the global target, in that case, the system will populate, will request you to provide assessment against the global target. So because this through 7 national report, we are making sure that countries report on all the global targets. You will have to provide information on a global target in case if you have no national target for the global target. So the system makes it very clear. If you have a national target, the system will provide a national in brackets next to each of the target. In case if your country does not have a national target, the system will populate a global target, and it will explicitly highlight that this is a global target that you are reporting against. But the template stays the same, and you're reporting against just the global target. So once you are in a national target, you will be answering those 4 questions that are mandatory, and the 5th question is not mandatory, which is the last question. Describe on the implementation of the targets related to the progress. Once you have submitted this information, you will also are required to provide indicator data for all the indicators that are aligned with the global targets that is linked with your national target. So because today's focus is target 3, we'll look at
Objectifs mondiaux qui sont liés à votre objectif national.
We'll provide information.
Nous allons nous concentrer sur l'objectif 3. Nous allons nous concentrer sur l'objectif 3. Nous allons nous concentrer. Allons nous concentrer sur l'objectif 3. We'll concentrate on objective 3.
I have a target 3, that national target that I have aligned with global target. Then at the bottom of the template, I also have indicator data, since target 3 only has.
Nous fournissons des informations concentrées sur votre
indicator.
objectif. Un objectif national.
System is listing the indicator. I'm having some echo.
We're going to
from the-
concentrate, we're going to concentrate, we're going to concentrate, we're going to... J'ai de l'écho. Nous allons nous concentrer. Nous allons nous concentrer. We've got an echo,
Okay,
so we're going to concentrate. We're going to concentrate, we will.
So we have this indicator
Nous
data.
allons avoir un
that
écho, donc nous allons nous concentrer. Nous allons nous concentrer, nous le ferons. Echo, so we're going to concentrate.
I'm having echo from the interpretation. I'm not very sure why is it happening. Again, like the indicator data so we have 3.1 that will provide the indicator data for. You'll have an option add data if you haven't provided any data. If you have already provided some data, you'll be able to edit the information. Once you click on the edit data, it will provide you with a few options related to the data. You need to provide the source of the data. If you do not have any data available, you can select no data available, and then you can provide the situation, to describe the situation why the data is not available. If the data is not, source is not relevant, you can provide a description why the source of the indicator, why the indicator is not relevant. But if you have data, you have two options. One is the national data set or the global data set. So we'll start with the we'll start with the national data set. Once you click on the national data set, the system will provide you with an option to upload an Excel file. The system follows a particular template. So you can download that template. The option to download the template is just below the question. Once you click on this link, it will download a file for you. The template follows a strict format, so you have to follow this format and provide the information. Once you have downloaded, you can enter the information in the Excel file and then choose file and upload the data. I have prepared an Excel file for the demo, so I'll just select the one that I have selected. So once I have selected, the system will validate the data that you provided in the Excel. If there is any bad data, the system will highlight that data for you, but it will not be included when you click Save Draft. So only data that falls under valid data will be included. And this in my Excel, I uploaded there was one row for 2020, but I forgot to provide a value for the 20. So it's highlighting that you did not provide the data, so it's not going to be included. But rest of the rows that we uploaded were okay. So only this data will be included. If you think you need to provide data for this row as well, you can go back to your Excel, make the correction, and then upload it again, and then the system will include it in your to save in your indicator data. If you do not have in your national data, but if you think like your national data is available in the global data set, you can select the use available data set. What will happen when you select use available data option is the ORT will query the target tracker system. It's a system provided by a UNEP-WCMC, which is collecting all the data from various data providers. The system will query their database for this indicator 3.1 and see if there is any global data available for your country. If there is any data, it will populate for you here, as you see. If there is no data, then it will highlight that there was no data found for your country for the indicator. If you're okay with this data, you can go ahead and click Save Draft. If you're not okay with the data, if you want to make any modifications to the data, one option that the ORT provides is once you click on Review, it will give you an option to download the data that was just populated from the target tracker. It will download the data in the same format that the ORT supports. You can make your modifications, go back to the submission section, select use national data set, and then upload the new Excel that you have modified. So once that's done, you save draft and then you close the section. Now, right now we're just focusing on one indicator, but as country you'll have 28 headline indicators that you'll have to provide the data for. Then you also have binary indicators that you'll have to provide the data for. Just as an example, we have target 6, which has a binary indicator. So the system is displaying the binary indicator. When you click on edit response, similarly, the system will provide you with a form with all the headline binary indicator questions. You will have to answer all the questions. Once you save them, the system will populate your screen with your answers that you just provided. It is mandatory to provide data for all the headline indicators and provide answers to all the binary indicator questions. And because as a country, it will be a big form for you to submit. What we have done is we have created an indicator data tab section which only focuses on uploading data. So once you go to the indicator data section, it has categorized all the indicators, headline, binary, component, complementary, and other national indicators. And you can provide data here. Once you provide information on this section, the system will automatically populate all your section 3 indicator that exist for all your national indicators. So you are providing the data only once, and then the system automatically propagates that data on all the instances of the headline indicators. It is optional to provide data for component, complementary, and other national indicators. It's up to you. If you have information, you can provide. Again, the template is mandatory to follow the template that the system provides you. And only if you follow that template, the data will be accepted. Otherwise, the system will not accept the data. Right. So once we finish entering all the information on section 3, we can move to the section 4, which deals with global goals. It's kind of the same thing like we had section 3. However, only all the 4 goals are listed here. You provide one answer for each of the goal, and then you also provide indicator data for each of the goal that is linked with the indicator. However, if you have provided data for this indicator either in section 3 or under indicator data, then you do not have to provide this information again. The system will automatically populate this indicator data from the previously provided information. So it's important to know that you are only uploading indicator data once, and then the system takes care of populating it everywhere it is linked. Once you have submitted all the information, you can go back to the overview section. The overview section is provides you an overview of the whole national report. It will also give you an option to validate the whole national report at once. You can generate preview the whole national report at once. You also get a progress of how much information your country has entered for your national report. So here you see the blue bars that shows kind of a progress of how much information has been entered for each of the section. You can validate You can do the preview. So once I click on the preview, you'll be able to see all the sections at once. You will be able to validate. Once you click on validate, the system will validate for any mandatory information that was missing, and then it will highlight the sections that have been missing mandatory information. So here we see some of the sections have been marked in red, and then it also shows you how many mandatory information are missing from each of the section, and how many indicator are missing the indicator data. So for example, I have two indicators that have that have provided data correctly, but the 3.1 indicator is missing some information. So you have an overview of what's missing. Once you provide that information and the whole screen becomes white, there's no red on the screen, you will be able to click publish and make the national report public so that other users can access the information. One last thing, we have provided an other information section in the national report. In case if you want to provide any information that is not part of the template, you can do so by providing information in the other national report. You have option to add links or attachments or provide some supplementary data in the additional information. This section is not mandatory, so if you do not have any information, you can choose to ignore this section. But if you have any additional annex data, you can always enter this information. With that, I think I've come to end of my presentation. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you. Isidore, back to you.
Thank you, Blaise. Appreciate it. That's excellent. Thank you both, Jillian and Blaise, for these presentations. Now we're going to open, actually because of time constraints, I would recommend now moving ahead with the UNEP-WCMC presentation. I know that Heather has to leave due to an additional commitment later on. Again, Jillian will have to leave earlier because of the commitment later on. We will be sharing presentations and source and resources after the meeting. But let's go ahead and turn on to the colleagues at UNEP-WCMC. Again, they will be presenting from a shared set of slides. First, we'll hear back from Heather, who will provide a brief description, and then Ayesha will describe, take us through additional aspects. So, Heather, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just bear with me 1 second while my slides up. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So I'm going to briefly talk about the ways in which UNEP-WCMC can support parties in providing information via the ORT, particularly through two platforms called the Target Tracker and Protected Planet. So for those who aren't aware of us, the UN Environment Programme World Conservation Monitoring Centre is a centre of excellence on biodiversity and nature's contributions to society and the economy. We work to ensure that science, knowledge, and insight are at the heart of national and global policy, and we work with governments and a range of other partners to place biodiversity at the centre of decision-making considerations. So one of the ways that we do this is by supporting parties to the CBD to monitor progress on the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework and helping to track what that progress means for the global implementation of those targets. So UNEP-WCMC made this webinar. There is the target tracker that Blaise mentioned earlier, which can help parties to report a range of data through the ORT if they choose to use the available global data. And secondly, Protected Planet, which tracks progress on Target 3 specifically and also feeds into the target tracker. So I will hand over to my colleague Aisha to speak about the target tracker first, and then I will speak a bit more about Protected Planet.
Okay, thank you, Heather. So I'll be briefly introducing the target tracker tool that has been developed by UNEP-WCMC and how it can support national reporting to the CBD. So next slide, please. So the target tracker is an online tool that uses the headline indicators from the monitoring framework to track and visualize progress towards the goals and targets of the global biodiversity framework. So it does this using predominantly data from global sources, and it makes information on global progress towards these goals and targets accessible and available online. The target tracker presents or shows data for each headline indicator at two levels. So there's the global level with a sort of global indicator value based on data from these global data sets. And then also national indicator values, again, based on data from global sources or global data sets that have been disaggregated to the national level. Next slide, please. So a prototype of the target tracker was launched at COP15, and then a version 1 of the tool was produced later in 2023. And version 1 of the tool is what's currently available online. So it includes global data for 3 headline indicators, and that's the Red List Index, also headline indicator D.1 on official development assistance for biodiversity, and most relevant for today, headline indicator 3.1 on coverage of protected areas and OECMs. And so we're currently working on a version 2 of the target tracker, which involves updating the data that's currently available for these 3 headline indicators, but also adding global data sets and making global data sets available where they are for additional new headline indicators. And so this is currently in the staging site right now, but we're hoping to have a version 2 published and available by end of this year, and definitely in time for national deadline for the national reports early next year. Next slide, please. So how can the target tracker support national reporting? So as was mentioned earlier, the target tracker is actually linked via an API with the CBD online reporting tool. So what this means is, as Blaise showed us, when parties fill in their national reports in the online reporting template and submit data for their headline indicators, they'll have the option to use national data to report on the headline indicators. However, where this may not be sufficiently available yet, they'll also have the option to use data from global sources. I believe the option was use available data or pre-populated data. And where global data sets are available and have been made available in the target tracker due to the link with the online reporting tool, if parties select this option, they should be able to view tabular data for their country from these global data sources. And as Blaise showed us, can view, select them, modify them however they will, and use them for national reporting. Thanks. Next slide. Yeah, so that's a really brief overview of how the target tracker is connected, links to the ORT. If you have any questions or want to explore the target tracker a little bit further, you can use the links and QR codes on the slide. Thank you. Back to you, Heather.
Thanks, Aisha. So moving on to Protected Planet. Hopefully many of you are familiar with this, but it's essentially a platform for collating and sharing data on protected and conserved areas globally. It is a joint product of UNEP and IUCN that is managed at UNEP-WCMC, and it's accessible at protectedplanet.net. Protected Planet is made up of several different components. The most well-known of these is the World Database on Protected Areas, which has a very long, sort of 65-year history. Was more recently joined by the Global Database on Protected Area Management Effectiveness, and very recently, the World Database on Other Effective Area-Based Conservation Measures. There are over 400 different data providers to the World Database on Protected Areas, and the majority of these are national governments, with other data providers able to submit data in some circumstances. But maintaining these databases is essentially a collaboration with all of the world's national governments. And we also collaborate closely in some regions with regional entities that facilitate data collection from the regional level to the global level. And all of this data comes together to form a global spatial database of the world's protected areas and OECMs, with associated data on the effectiveness of management and governance. And this enables us to provide the headline indicator on progress towards Target 3 at the global level, which currently stands at 17.5% coverage of protected areas and OECMs on land and almost 10% in the ocean. It also means that we can calculate progress on various component and complementary indicators for Target 3, and we can calculate disaggregations of the headline indicator. And we do all of these things in collaboration with a range of other partners through the periodic Protected Planet report series. So how can Protected Planet support reporting via the ORT? Protected Planet is built on national data that is analysed in a globally consistent way. So although it's often thought of as a global database, it's actually kind of the best of both worlds in that it is derived from national level data that is then compiled in a standardized way and analyzed in a standardized way. So via Protected Planet, parties can access summaries of their national data that are directly relevant to Target 3 reporting, derived from their own data. And that includes the headline indicator on coverage of protected areas and OECMs, but also some information relevant to component and complementary indicators, and information that's relevant to the disaggregations of the headline indicator. And in some cases, UNEP-WCMC can also support parties with additional analyses that they need for reporting on request. As Aisha mentioned, the headline stats that are available in Protected Planet will also be available in Target Tracker, so they will be easily brought across into the ORT. And then there's also additional data available through Protected Planet that parties can access and use for reporting if they choose to. So UNEP-WCMC is working towards providing more detailed analyses at national and global levels. And in particular, we'll be doing things like providing statistics on coverage by different governance types, which is one of the disaggregations, providing a proxy for equitable governance. We will also be scaling up the data infrastructure that can support the disaggregation by effectiveness, by supporting parties to provide more detailed data on management effectiveness, equitable governance and conservation outcomes, and then analysing what that tells us. And we're also working to provide national level stats on coverage of inland waters through a methodology that we've been developing in collaboration with TNC. I am very briefly going to show a video that just demonstrates how to find the relevant information on Protected Planet. So the first step is to navigate to protectedplanet.net. You'll then find a search function towards the top right. And using the example of Denmark, this is how you would find the relevant country. You click on the search result, and you'll come to a page that gives you statistics on the number of protected areas and OECMs, headline coverage statistics, and a range of other pieces of information that may be useful for reporting. You can also explore the data on the map. So you can zoom in and move around the map to look at the data in detail. And there's also a download function that means that you can download all of the data that your country has provided and look at it in depth in a range of different formats. During that process, you might potentially identify that there are issues with the data that's been reported to Protected Planet. And if you do, I would really encourage you to work with us to update the data, even if your country doesn't plan to use it for reporting via the ORT. And that is because updating the data is important for a whole range of other reasons, including that it means we're able to accurately track progress towards Target 3 at the global level, in addition to its use in tracking progress on Sustainable Development Goals 14 and 15, and a whole range of other things that the World Database on Protected Areas is used for. If you do identify anything that needs to be updated, please contact us at protectedareas@unep-WCMC.org. The process for updating the data is reasonably simple. It involves providing spatial and tabular data that we can explain the standards for. And we're very happy to provide support and additional materials on how to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Heather. And thank you so much for all the presenters. So let's open up the conversation. I want to have about 10 minutes, let's say by 10:25, 10:20, we'll end the call today. And let's open the floor again for any questions that you might have. Before, you're welcome to raise your hand and unmute or type your question in the chat, and we'll take a few now that you might have. And again, there's interpretation available in the link. So in case you want to do the question in French or Spanish, please feel free. All right. Well, it seems that the presentations were very clear. So as again, just a little bit of next steps, the hack will be sharing to all the guest participants the resources. We're recording this call as well, the Zoom call, and we'll be sharing. Oh, so Donald has a question. I'm not sure if Blaze would be willing to respond that one. How are country targets introduced into the ORT?
I'm not very sure if I can answer that question. Maybe it's something that Gillian can. Maybe we can maybe we can answer that question through Gillian through email.
Perfect. Donald, we will be responding to your question shortly. Gillian unfortunately had to leave due to another commitment. We have, yes. We have a question by Mauricio. And yes, that's for you, Heather.
Yeah, great question, Mauricio. So this is around where protected planet indicators don't exactly match what countries themselves have calculated at the national level. There's a range of reasons that this can happen, including things like very slightly different total areas being used for the country at the calculation stage. So there's lots of reasons why there might be small differences. But if you're reviewing the data and you find that actually the numbers in protected planet are significantly different to what you would expect to see as a national government, then I would absolutely encourage you to get in touch with us. The data is largely provided by national governments. So often if there's an issue with the calculations, it can be fixed by updating the underlying data. So I'll put the email address that you can contact in the chat again. And if you do notice any of those issues, you're welcome to contact us. And the solution is essentially to work together to make sure that the underlying data is updated and accurate. Thanks.
Great. Hector has his hand raised.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to appreciate the information is very useful and very opportune. I would like to request that the presentations are made available if they could be circulated, because some of the slides were presented very briefly. If that could be done, it would be very useful. And my question is related to SOPSTA 27. What do you anticipate will be the visibility of this process during SOPSTA 27 in Panama City? We believe it is important that this information is presented again at SOPSTA. And on that note, we have a concern about the participation of different parties during SOPSTA 27 to be able to absorb all this information and to be able to familiarize ourselves with the process with a view to February 2026. And the issue is that for some countries, the financial support being made available is for only one participant, including small island developing states like Cuba. And that will be a problem for us to be able to cover the whole myriad of issues that will be related to the national reporting, especially because in our case, a single member delegation will be very limited in the capacity to be able to cover all the information and to be able to interact and deliver eventually in 2026. So this is our concern. The question on SOPSTA 27, how do you anticipate you will make this visible, and what would be the engagement with the different parties? And also the request, please make the presentations available. Thank you.
Thank you, Hector.
So I can answer.
Yes, go ahead,
Sorry.
please.
Yeah, I can answer the first part regarding the support during SOPSTA. So we are going to have a help desk during the SOPSTA, all days for SOPSTA. So I'll be available there. And if there's any technical issue related to the ORT, we'll be there to provide any support that any countries require. We'll also have a booking system that will be made available to participants if they want to book any particular time slot during the SOPSTA, so that we can have a one-to-one session for the countries. I think in case of the funding, I think it will be better to take that up with the secretariat. Maybe you can write it to the secretariat on that part. And I also wanted to go back to the question from Donald, how are country targets introduced in ORT? I'm assuming what the country targets are national targets. So countries will have to use the national target section, which is the part 1, where they will be able to provide national targets, which are aligned with the global targets. Once that are submitted, then they will be carried forward in the 7th national report. Thank you.
Yes, Hector, and just to confirm, we will be sharing presentations and all the resources as well as the recording of this meeting shortly. Blaise, there's one last question that might be relevant to you as well. You can see it on the chat.
Yes, so in case if you have difficulties, technical difficulties, we do have support, like various types of support that is available to countries. Whenever you go to the online reporting tool, you will see a small help icon at bottom of the screen. That help icon allows you to chat with one of the team members from the secretariat. Where you can get help if you're having technical difficulties. We do also have a support email, which I can share with on this chat, and you can send us information over to what issues you have, and we'll try to resolve it. Maybe we'll have a one-to-one session with you and try to resolve that issue. The intention is to get all information as much as possible. So it's better to submit it before the deadline so that your country data can be included in the analysis. However, because it's your report, you are always allowed to modify the information. But however, if you do it after the analysis, it may not be included in the analysis. So it's really important that you try to submit all the information before the deadline. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Blaise. I see no more hands raised and no other questions in the chat. So as we come to today's end, I want to thank our speakers, Jillian, Blaise from the CBD Secretariat, Heather, and Ayesha from UNEP-WCMC, as well as everyone who joined. And we hope this walkthrough helps as you prepare for your 7th national report. And again, a recording and slides will be shared afterwards. I also want to acknowledge that we had a few issues with the AI interpretation and translation today. I hope you were able to access it through the links provided throughout the chat. Thank you so much for the patience. We're working closely with the provider to improve the experience in future sessions. With that, we officially close today's webinar. Thank you once again. And we look forward to continuing to work together.